And hello, it is me, it is that D-O-double-G, and welcome, one and all on this Valentine's Day to absolutely WSL and the Women's Championship, on the award-winning Absolute Football Podcast team here, and it is not just me, as ever, it is not just me, I have a team with me, and but on this special day, it is Valentine's Day. These people are here, and they want to spend their Valentine's Day evening speaking football with you lovely people. I think it's a bit of roses are red, violets are blue. They just want to be talking football with you. And Freya, how are you this evening on this Valentine's Day Eve?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, happy to be sharing it with you all. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you get, do you know what? It's been ages since we've had an absolutely. That used to be like a buzzword for ages, and we haven't used it in yonks. But, did you have any cards, roses, chocolates, balloons?
Yeah, my wife got me some flowers yesterday, and then we had
yesterday
in case, yeah, because we were out at the doctor's today. It's a different story. And then we had pancakes with strawberries and Nutella tonight for dessert. Pancaked into two.
I did that for my wife. She had pancakes with Nutella, strawberries, and cream. Pink pancakes as well. Pink pancakes.
Pink.
That is, it's not just for here. Chloe, did you have anything for Valentine's Day today?
I did not.
Oh, bastards.
Oh. No one got me anything.
Well, you're the world. You're a disappointment, world. Damn you all. But if you had a lovely day, how are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm doing well. Yeah, I've had a good day. Been at uni all day. Got to take a little trip to the Liver building, which is always quite fun. They've got a bit of a display on at the moment.
Oh, there's no Valentine's Day ball this evening you could have been at? Do they do that? Am I just really old and that was a thing that doesn't exist anymore?
No, nothing, no Valentine's planned, but I might take a leaf out of Freya's book and just might make some pancakes to make it a bit better.
Yes, way.
Do you know what? We'll probably be finished before 10. The night will still be young. You can go and get smashed and have random liaisons, as I'm sure that's what I thought you meant to do at university anyway. That's what I did. That's what I did back when I was at university in the lovely Coventry. And speaking of the lovely Coventry, there's Paul. Paul, good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. How are you, sir?
Evening all. Happy Valentine's Day. I've actually not been brilliant because I haven't treated my partner to anything for Valentine's Day, so I will hold my hands up. I am house sitting technically, so I'm not actually in the same house as her, but I've come back for Valentine's Day to have a Valentine's meal with her, and now I'm sat talking to you guys. So
we won't keep each other. Are those your unicorns in the background? Are those your lovely Valentine's Day unicorns?
This is what I have to put up with.
No. She's gonna. That's it. She's gonna disown you.
It's
toys. So a few of them, the wife bought her from various places because she likes them. So I'm claiming that bit.
Yeah, do you know what you can do? You can after a hard day's work, you can rub them on your body to get your scent, so that when you're not there, she'll always have a scent of you.
Like a dog.
Yeah,
I'm just imagining how she'd react.
You just spray your scent over it. Yeah, exactly. Just give it a whirl. But obviously, we're not here to talk about Paul rubbing himself on toys. That is not what absolutely WSL is all about. No, we are gonna talk women's football. But in the chat already, I'm spoiled. I've spoiled the show right from the go. We have Alan. Alan, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Chris in the chat as well. Looking good for Arsenal women as they lead in the Conti Cup game. They are 4-0. I believe, according to Chris again. Johnny's in the chat as well. Johnny, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Evening, Simon as well is with us. And look, you're getting named in particular. Chris is giving us specific welcomes. But thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. And the Conti Cup game. Do you know what? I'm ashamed to say I know Arsenal are playing. I don't know who they are playing. Who are they playing?
London City Lionesses.
Bless their hearts. They're getting a rough time with it because it's not just that they didn't. Yeah, and looking at the chat here, Simon is definitely not here for the scent spreading conversations. And for all of our audio listeners as well, you could be here live in the chat Wednesday, 8:30 on YouTube or Twitch to tell me to stop talking about polls. Just leave it alone. Let's talk some football. Look at that. Football happened. What happened on the weekend? It was the FA Cup. FA Cup. This is what order this appeared in, I don't know. Samuel created this for us, but thank you very much. But let's start off with then we have Spurs versus Charlton. Tottenham. I mean, I'm not sure who have I got down here. Paul, we're gonna stick on the Paul and Tottenham 1, Charlton 0. Not as a resounding victory as the other games there. Charlton, for all accounts, gave a good account of themselves. I mean, what did you think of that game and how did it make you feel?
I'm impressed by Charlton, is how it made me feel, because they came with a game plan. They have got some criticism from some of the WC teams, some championship teams. I don't know if Graham's in the chat yet, but he'll probably tell me off for this as a Charlton fan. But apparently they have mastered the dark arts, Charlton, to do it a bit against the Spurs. There was one bit, Evelina Sumanen for Spurs managed to get herself injured because Kate Longhurst, who anyone who watches the WSL knows, loves a little bit of the dark arts, managed to fall on her, and while being booked, just kind of lay there looking up at the ref with her arms out. And I was sat there looking at that going, that's a fine bit of what is referred to nowadays as shithousery. But the goal from Kit Graham was an absolute bullet, a cracker of a goal, and it needed to be because Charlton were well organised. Charlton, set up to frustrate Spurs, and they did a really good job of it. And they can really, take that into the rest of the championship. A loss with honour, I think. If I had to say it in 3 words, I think a loss with honour, definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking through the stats on there. I mean, they actually had more shots on target than what Spurs did. And possession was very, very tight in possession. There wasn't a lot. Yeah, it wasn't a lot in it. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to see. I mean, do you think was it Spurs underperforming, or it's Charlton setting themselves up right and like you said, doing the dirty work and almost getting it done?
It's easy to say the WSL teams underperform, isn't it? That seems to be the prevailing line that people go to, but no, I'm going to give Charlton full credit for this. I think Karen Hills and Ritesh Misra set up with a game plan, and it very nearly worked. It took a moment of quality to beat them. So, yeah, full credit to Charlton with that one, I think.
And I mean, at the moment, I think they're still leading the championship. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're still there or thereabouts. Provided they do get promotion, do you think this bodes well for them when they come into the WSL? Do you think they're going to be able to make a good game of it based on their performance in the FA Cup?
Maybe not over a full season, because Charlton's owners, they've had a bit of a checkered history with owners. We know all about checkered histories with owners in Coventry. I think there was one game we played Charlton in League One, and both sets of fans protested against the owners at the same time, which says something. But on the pitch, if they get the investment, I think they can definitely help out. But I'll be skeptical. They need a lot more help, and obviously with the resources they're going up against, it's another.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, in the chat and said we've got Mr. Lucas joining us late again. Just disappointed, becoming a serial disappointment. But what else we've got? We've got Chris in the chat. He's having a couple of beers, missing his fiance in Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, you shouldn't have left her there then. Should have brought her back with you. That's just awfully irresponsible. I would take giving you any sympathy there. Sean is in the chat as well. Sean, good evening. He's joined from YouTube as his Twitch is being a little wet wipe. On Twitch. All the cool kids watch on YouTube these days as well. Just make sure you subscribe. It's free, costs you nothing. Just every time you subscribe, Angel gets its wings. It's lovely. Mr. Luke is saying he's doing okay, but he's single on Valentine's Day, so I'm assuming you can be in Chloe's club of not getting any cards. That's what. So just embrace the single times, because once you get someone, you get married, you have no time, no money. Allegedly, there's happiness, there's perks in there thrown in, because I don't think my wife's watching at the moment because she's not very well, so we're fine. Simon said they threw plastic pigs onto the pitch when they had their protest against the owners at Coventry. That lovely. And Salara said he bought himself a treadmill for Valentine's Day. Awesome. It's just so he can run away from all the people tracing him just for dates on a Valentine's Day. It's good thought there. And Cap Allen is also single as well. Look at that. I was going to say all the single ladies, but it's not all of them. Just give it a go. You can give it all of that. While we're saying Leicester City 6, Birmingham 2. A bit of a thump in there then. And who are we going to go to? Freya. Leicester 6, Birmingham City 2. How did that game make you feel?
It was one of those where you think the championship teams that are still in there could be some cup upsets. There were a couple that we will talk about where you thought it was so close, could they do it, because they had such a good account of themselves. But annoyingly, they had moments, they had chances, and as soon as Leicester started scoring, you just saw it just fell apart. The defense fell apart, and the goals for Leicester just started literally trickling in, and they couldn't do anything about it. I know Paul was talking about Shannon O'Brien and how incredible she was. She got a brace, some fantastic footwork through that match, and you just think Leicester they just outplayed them, simply. Just a lot of quality on that pitch. Because you thought, I don't know, let's have a look. So, own goal from Missy Goodwin in the first couple of minutes. So you thought, is this how the game's going to go? Is it going to be a game of mistakes? But Birmingham could have really made something of it. But yeah, like I said, at 2-2, it was all to play for. Libby Smith equalised, I believe, just before half-time. And then Deanne Rose came on, and what a super impact sub she is. Whenever she's such a dangerous player, whenever she's got the ball, you kind of panic a bit when you're supporting the other team. And yeah, just shows Leicester's subs made an incredible impact and won that incredibly comfortably. And if you look at the other scores from that day, from that weekend, there was a goal or two in it, and it just shows you how clinical Leicester were that day, that they could get 6 past Birmingham. So it was a really good match. So if you haven't managed to watch it, definitely go back and do the highlights, because it was a good one.
There's a lot of goals going in there. I mean, it looked a little bit like, as soon as the end of the first half, you thought, ooh, things could happen here, and then
it was really lively.
Stuff did happen, but not really in the fashion Birmingham. But I mean, another one where, in regards to possession and shots taken, the statistics that I am allowed to look at based on Google, it looked fairly tight. I mean, is it in the first half, certainly was it as tight as it suggests?
It was, yeah. Birmingham, how they've been playing in the championship to now, they've had to be quite tight in defence, and they've had to really take their chances. And I thought if they could have just done that for a bit longer, because I don't know about Chloe and Paul, but for the rest of the matches with the championship teams, they were giving it everything. Then it got to about 70, 80 minutes, and you just saw that fatigue hit, which is due to that extra step up they've had to do with the WSL teams. And it's just a shame, but that shows that's the difference in the competition, difference in the leagues. So if they had, like Paul said earlier, that investment, that extra training, that, there wasn't such a gap between the divisions, I think they could be even closer in the challenge. So yeah, it's a shame to just see that end bit tail off, because as we saw for the Brighton match, we'll talk about later, those last 10-15 minutes were, where it all happened. So yeah, just shows you.
And I was just looking at the chat. They're trying to get myself up to date. Incidentally, Samwise Ganji has joined us. Good evening, Samuel. Hope you're doing well. And look all this love for Sam. Sam, hello, Sam. Hello, Sam. Hello, Sam. Hello, Sam. Isn't that lovely? That's lovely. A lot of love there for Sam. I mean, in Leicester's lineup, I mean, what I'm curious about, because obviously I'm a little bit ignorant in regards to the teams. Did they go for a strong lineup, or did they sort of rest some of their bigger names?
I think overall, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were pretty strong. And it's just those, like I said, that Deanne Rose and people like her that have the biggest impact off the bench. They really knew how to set that up to kind of hit Birmingham when they were down, essentially, to bring on people to bring on. And again, that's the thing with the Championship sides as well. They'll put out their strongest team, and then who they're bringing off the bench are either your academies or your 18-year-olds, things like that. And it's just, have you got the woman power, as it were, to really compete for those 90 minutes plus.
I like player power because it's less syllables. It's easier to say then.
And alliteration. I like that. Yeah,
that's just how I roll. That's just how I roll. I'm wordsmith, master of words. And Sean say lots of goals to say. You can't wait to talk about the 7-goal thriller tomorrow. It is the lower league bonkers crew tomorrow because you get 3 shows a week with us on the Actual Football Podcast, you blacky bastards, in the words of Monty Python. But that was another goal thriller. Lots of goals there. But the game that didn't have lots and lots of goals, but had some very tight football being played was Arsenal 0, Man City 1. Paul, tell us all about that. How did that game make you feel?
Very happy for Chiara Keating. Again, played in Coventry. If I'm convinced if she'd not got injured, Coventry would have stayed in the Championship. That's how good Chiara Keating was even before this season. So seeing all the journalists this season go, "Where's Chiara Keating come from?" It's like, well, if you look below the WSL, you'd have known with her playing at Fylde and Coventry. But yeah. The old Arsenal flaws came again. They just couldn't break down Man City. A certain Lioness number 9 was once again fairly ineffective, which if you clip that bit, that'll get a lot of annoyed Arsenal fans. Yeah, Arsenal, they're scoring tonight against London City, obviously, but when they come up against comparable opposition, they just can't find it. Jonas Eidevall, I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans now who want Eidevall out, like genuinely, when the pressure is building on him and nobody's really mentioning it. The goal was for Man City was your typical scrappy set piece goal from Leo Alexandri. There was controversy a little bit later on where Chiara Keating may have handled a ball that had already crossed the line. I don't think it went over the line. And I did enjoy, there was an interview with Esme Morgan on the Upfront podcast on Tuesday, so yesterday, and she was asked about it, and her response was, do people not understand what perspective is? So I enjoyed that. There was a little bit of salt in that response. But there's a picture going around which appears to show it over the line, but I don't think it did go over the line. But the after effect of that game is not so much what happened on the pitch, but what happened off it, because there was a Telegraph reporter there coming from rugby who basically wrote an article about the vile abuse Chiara Keating had suffered and how she'd risen above it. The abuse in question was Arsenal fans shouting "your shit" every time she took a goal kick, which everyone, this is what I mean. You're already reacting like that, Josh, and saying really, and it just set off the discourse again. And Freya and Chloe will back me up on this. There's always been discourse around how fans should behave in women's football and how it's family friendly and stuff. And I think that needs to stop at this point, because now you're getting journalists turn up at games and complaining about abuse from the kind of stuff that anyone who's gone to a football game at any level, men's or women's, looks and goes, yeah, this happened. Kiara Keating herself apparently was cupping her ears back at the North Bank and enjoying it greatly.
Yeah.
She was laughing her head off. Kirsten Kasparai as well. I have to mention, I was unaware of her Instagram caption game. Posted a picture of herself afterwards with "Sun's out, gunners out." So, like, my argument here is clearly the players love a little bit of needle and stuff like talking about how there's abuse in the women's game now. There is a little bit of needle and a bit of dig back and forth is only holding it back. And I was kind of wondering what you guys thought about that, whether I'm overreacting coming from the men's game or whether women's football is being far too sensitive, or certain sections of women's football is now being far too sensitive because of this family-friendly thing, and they just kind of need to get over themselves at this point.
I mean, we've got a bit of a variance of experience in the women's football. I mean, Freya, you were going to say something. I mean, for you, do you think it's fine or?
It's hard, isn't it? Because it's not the men's game, and we don't want it to have that association that you sometimes get of that negativity, that violence, the fighting, that kind of thing. We've not had that. What we really want to keep is that banter, because when the fans are at each other, chanting at each other, that's brilliant, and that creates that atmosphere. So we want to keep that. Profanities, if they are coming into it, as long as it's at a minimum and it's not like offensive, it's not, F-bomb, C-bomb, whatever. We don't want any of that. That's ridiculous. But with what Paul was saying, that chant, like they do that to all the goalies, like, and I love it because it's not offensive, because they're clearly not crap, because they're playing, they're in the team. It's a bit like when I used to teach and I'd get kids coming over saying, "Miss, the called us a chicken nugget," and it's like, "Are you a chicken nugget?" "No." "Then why are you upset?" Like, why? This isn't a thing. This isn't a conversation.
I love it. The kids must have had a thicker accent than you as well, because your accent got much thicker then.
This was a Lincolnshire as well. But yeah, so it's putting into perspective, isn't it? And if you've got someone coming over from the men's game maybe who has this very rose-tinted PC version of the women's game, they might be shocked with that because they're not coming into it expecting it. But for people who've been there for years and are part of the atmosphere, it's normal, it's fine, it's a bit of banter. And I think some banter can cross that line, absolutely, and that's what we need to put a stop to. But when everyone's enjoying it and part of that moment, then it's okay. It's only if it crosses that boundary, then we need to talk about it. But yeah, sensationalizing like that's just not helping anyone, is it?
How about you, Chloe? Do you like a bit of a family atmosphere, or are you enjoying the little bit of needle being highlighted and existing there?
And it's a bit like what Freya was saying. I mean, no matter what league you go to, everyone does that chant to goalkeepers, and quite often you'll see like the goalkeepers rallying them up as well, like, "Oh, keep doing it," because they find it funny. But also, I think that's kind of okay. We like it being family friendly because it gives young children the opportunity to see football. But I think it's all right. Like, I think kind of like that level is fine. Anywhere up the ladder is a bit like, oh, bit dodge, but I think I don't mind it.
Oh, as someone who's predominantly obviously that watches them and follows the men's game, well, it sounds like is what you would like the women's game to be, as I would like the men's game to be. Just normal, just where people can banter back and forth. You can give each other a little bit of needle, but there's always that line, which I think really that's what we should be aiming for in society in general, and that's where I think we sort of fall down, is that and it's the horrible thing I don't like about men's football, is the tribalism and the aggressiveness and the hooliganism, and all the Cov Birmingham derby games where your little 5-year-old kid threatening to stab his mate sitting on the other side of the road. That stuff that we don't need anywhere in football. So yeah, no, I think it is this. What I would like to think is that the men's game is going to tone it down a little bit, and if the women's game sort of comes up, and we all just be normal, we pretend like it's a normal thing, and we exist in society together. We don't have to abuse and insult and want to harass each other. That would be lovely, and I'm glad we're all on board with everyone acting like mature adults. In the chat, just catching up with the chat here. We've got Charlotte is there. Hello, good evening, Charlotte. Happy Valentine's Day. You'll have to let us know if you've got any card, flowers, chocolates. Hopefully no offensive DMs, but who knows? Twitter's a cesspool. That could very well have happened. But thank you for joining us in here. Mr. Luke said Gatehead FC ladies drew their game against Washington. FC women was still in 5th. What else have we got in here? Spenny fan telling us London City Lionesses 0, Arsenal 4. This is where the Conti Cup game ended. Mr. Luke is questioning his ability to multitask. Yes, you can watch 2 things at once. That's fine. I do that all the time because you can just have stuff playing in the background. Leave the man alone. And we've also got in here first time conversation, first time chat that I've seen. There's certainly across the Pond Sports Network. Loving the work, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. And Sean concurs is having banter and is crossing the line. I think I agree. As long as there's that line of civility, that would be lovely. And I would like that in men's football, women's football, society, Twitter, any sort of like interaction between humans. Let's pretend that we're all like respectful of each other because we all exist on the same plane. Why not give that one a whirl? Next game up, though, we've got another. We can go back into all the goals, all the exciting goals.
Ooh,
so we had
Josh.
goals. Oh, yes.
All right, just before we move on, can we talk about Lotte Wubben-Moy, please?
About
Lotte Wubben-Moy. Now, big thing that happened.
I'm setting it in here. Here we go.
Right, so, as we all know, Rachel Daly got a retrospective red card for an elbow to the face against Bristol City, right? Now, Lotte Wubben-Moy went up against Bunny Shaw in a challenge, and she's come down and proper clattered her with that elbow, right? Again, the commentator actually mentioned at that time. No action was taken. The ref didn't notice it, nothing. And it's all gone quiet. Nothing's happened. So that's begging the question of where is the standard in refereeing and within the FA? Because you can't retrospectively give Rich Daly a red card for that and not give Lotte Wubben-Moy anything. So just wanted to get other people's opinions because that was a massive one. And it just, baffles me.
Well, for Paul Philly to go, what do you think, Paul?
Now, but I think the standard is, did a top 3 club do it? I genuinely think they've got, because, you know, I play ice hockey for fun. I played it for years. That forearm smash from Lotte Wubben-Moy, you know, I'd have been proud of landing that in an ice hockey game. I probably got a penalty for that in an ice hockey game for elbowing. Like, so how she got away with it. And there's certain players at top 3 clubs as well are talked about in a very different way to players further down the spectrum. Mentioning no names, Katie McCabe. But like, just I'm surprised nobody's talking about it. Like you say, Freya, like that was far worse than Rachel Daly's 3-game ban. If Rachel Daly's is a 3-game ban, Lotte Wubben-Moy's is 5 at least.
Yeah, because we also had. I'm going to get on my soapbox now, unfortunately. We had Kirsty Hansen get a 3-match ban for a late high challenge in the first game of the season, where she was in tears straight away. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry!" Like, complete remorse. Was still a 3-match ban when it shouldn't have been. So we had Rach Daly. Martina Piemonte got a retrospective red card for a shirt/hair pull. Then we had, I've just had another example that's gone out of my head. And in that same match, the Kirsty Hansen one, Maya Letitia completely shoulder barged. I don't know if anyone remembers. It was I can't remember who it was, but it was off the ball completely, so the ref wasn't looking, and completely clattered the Villa player, went down on the ground, got injured. I think it might have been Maz Pacheco. Can't remember. But that didn't get anything either. And it does beg the question, does it depend who you play for? And if anyone's going to go against it, because going back to Katie McCabe.
Frank Kirby as well.
Yeah, exactly. And Katie McCabe and Lauren Hemp at the weekend as well, having a little shoulder barge, and then suddenly McCabe's on the floor like, "Oh, ref, she pushed us over." And it's like, you've just shoulder barged her 3 times and she gives you a little push and you're on the floor. And it's just, but she's loved for it, isn't she? It's like, that's Katie. Whereas anyone else,
she just smashes people around the place.
Yeah, she's up to our old tricks again, is our Katie. And it's just,
I do wonder. There's a question about players of colour as well, because we saw the thing. Hawa Sissoko for West Ham has got a lot of stick in the past.
Yeah, wasn't it? She's like one of the most
what Kate McCabe does. So
I don't know. It baffles me completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw your eyes light up a couple of times, Chloe. I mean, where were you going to interject on that? Or you just shocked at Paul's name dropping?
No, I was just trying to find the time to jump in and say my piece. But no, I agree with everything that's been said. There's like that fine line between, like Katie McCabe and Lauren Hemp having that like banter that they're known for, and like a literal elbow to the face, because I think that was like a red from Lotte Wubben-Moy, because you can't be doing that, can you? That's almost like a rugby move. And it is like, I think she should definitely get like a 3-game ban, because that's just not acceptable.
I mean, you could argue the spotlight's on WSL a lot more than it has been in previous years. And it's easy to have that sort of bias and to treat people differently when it's in a sort of little isolated bubble over here. I think I would like to think we'll find as it starts to be shifted more into the spotlight, the light will shine on these things. It's a little bit harder to hide that, and potentially then that the fact that you're bringing it up and people are having those conversations, you'd like to think that will make a difference. But I find the FA don't give a crap about anything. They just do their own thing, and they enjoy it over here. I mean, Sean is agreeing the standard of referee in the WSL is very questionable. And thank God, Emily, he slipped his knot in the middle this weekend. I'm not saying anything. I'm not going any sort of bias or mudslinging anyone. But before we get into more games, where did we have? We had Charlotte told us she didn't have any cards or presents for Valentine's Day. So men of Rochdale, you're all a disappointment. You're very, very disappointing. But she's troughed a tube of fruit pastilles, so she's happy, which Chris thinks is quality. But very important question. Alid asked, fruit pastilles are great. What is her favourite flavour? And she says they don't last long enough for her to have one. So very important team. Obviously, we'll go around. We'll go around the clock. Freya, favourite fruit pastille flavour?
Lime, the green ones.
Ooh, Chloe, favourite flavour? What's your flavour? Tell me what's your flavour.
I like the black ones.
And your favourite flavour? Favourite fruit pastille, Paul?
Are the dark red ones cherry? Because you've got the light red and the dark red. Like James, or am I imagining this? Red ones. I'll just say the red ones.
Yeah, it's like reddy purpley one. Yeah.
Is it? I just thought there was. I thought there was like a sort of dark purple and a red. I didn't know. To be honest, I eat them like 3 at a time, so it's really hard to define. I like the mixes, like you have lemon and lime drink. That's why I like to mix it up and get loads together. That's what we should do. But tell us in the chat, what's your favourite fruit pastille flavour? You've got to do. I think you missed. I think it was it last week. It might have been on the Premier League show. We discussed Pringles flavours. This week it is fruit pastille flavours. We just cover it all. We cover everything on the Absolute Football podcast here. But we also talk football. So moving back from those childhood sweeties onto the football, I think we were about to mention Wolves 1, Brighton 4. Which one for you, Chloe? Did you catch that game, and how did it make you feel?
I did, and I thought it was a really good game. Like, I thought Wolves were absolutely phenomenal, and the scoreline definitely does reflect like the 490, because fair credit to Wolves, they were one of the lowest ranked sides to a lot of the competition, along with Nottingham Forest. And I just thought they did so well. Like Beth Merrick, she scored Wolves' only goal in the game, and she was just amazing. Like, she created so many chances. She scored the penalty for Wolves. It was and yeah, I thought she was so good. But unfortunately, Brighton did score 4 and knocked Wolves out, which is quite sad for them. Brighton also currently have an interim manager in Mikey Harris, and he has literally been charged for 3 games, and he's already had to have a FA Cup game and 2 WSL games, including one midweek. So what a week for him. Like, but he's knackered now, having to do all that. And Kohlberg actually scored like her first hat trick of her Brighton career, and I think she's sort of like the first goal she scored in the WSL, which is like
First for the club, yeah.
that's for the club, and it's like
In
what
10 minutes.
what an occasion to do it. I mean, come on, if you're going to score like 3 goals, you might as well do it in an FA Cup.
FA Cup last what it was in the last 8 minutes of the game, I believe.
Yeah, like additional time as well.
It's just on the pitch going, whoa, look at me. Back
But you can believe it.
I know, because I was looking at, I think they were ahead only for a little bit, and yeah, it was really tight. I mean, it was very similar to, which was the other high scoring game? Was it Leicester Birmingham, which was very tight until and I think, as you said, Freya and Chloe, do you agree with this? It's just that difference in the levels when you get to the latter stage of the games. Do you think it's just the changes the bigger teams were able to make, and in this instance, Brighton, are they able to make the change of the game?
Yeah, 100%. And I'll go into some more detail later on, but they are just completely different leagues. Like the way they train, the times they train, how they train. Most of them aren't even like full-time footballers. They have like full-time jobs during the day as well. Like some of them are teachers who teach in the day and train at night. Like it's just such a difference in the league. But fair play to us, they held their own so well, and they got a record crowd at Newbuck's Head, which is their ground, and it's quite a nice ground to be fair, because I've been a couple of times with Derby, and they just they really held their own. And to be fair, I thought it could have gone to like extra time and penalties with the way Wolves played. I thought they could have scored again.
And they all seem to be very David and Goliath sort of matches. All of these. I don't know if that's deliberate or not. Whether the FA just did it just for the shits and gigs, for the TV ratings, just to get all the little ones out or not. Who knows? I'm not throwing any aspersions at all, honestly. But just in the chat, we've got Lossie Jones. I get first time I've seen anything from Lossie. Good evening. Thank you for joining us in the chat. And Solaris, just back on the fruit pastures. 9 fruit pastures of a crime against humanity, Freya.
You don't have them all then. That's fine. I won't share.
Yeah, just pop them in a Ziploc bag, send them to Freya. We might leave like a PO box address. We won't dig out their actual address, but we'll do that. I'm thinking of that. Charlotte, she just tips a tube or a bag into a gob, smashes them away. No wonder she'd have given a Valentine's Day card. And Chris thinks blackcurrant's the best. And any more on the fruit pastures we haven't, but Sean's saying tomorrow we should do favorite chocolate bar for the lower league gang. Charlotte, take note, favorite chocolate bars for your guys tomorrow evening. And but yeah, again, it was another tight game. Unfortunately, another championship team giving way to a WSL team, and well done, Brighton. And I just love that a hat trick in under 10 minutes. That is superb.
Right back as well. So
what's going on there then? How did that happen?
Just women's football. She clearly fancied a bit of 70s Brazil. Just go charging up the wing.
She's got mad techers. She's having a bit of Carlos moment. I tried to think, what show is it in? Who am I? She's just running up the line, charging up there. Superb. But that was another high-scoring game. Moving on to a game which wasn't a high-scoring game. Chelsea won. Crystal Palace 0. A lot tighter than I would have sort of anticipated originally. I mean, Paul, what happened then? How did this game make you feel?
I've just realised all my 3 games were the 1-0s. That I picked to talk about. So, that's classic Coventry defending, that is. We don't like flash stuff. We just, down here, we just sat there like, if anyone's been to Coventry, we don't know what flash is or excitement. We're just kind of like, we'll sit with the 1-0s. But, yeah, Palace set up to frustrate Chelsea again. And it really worked. They absolutely played out of their skins. I was talking to some Palace fans, and they were like, "We're going to lose 5 or 6-0 with the team we picked because we're going defensive, and Chelsea are going to rip us to shreds." And Laura Kaminsky just had them set up perfectly, but the winning goal was absolute quality. Myra Ramirez, like people talk about Leslie Russo's back heel. Myra Ramirez, the back heel that Myra Ramirez pulled off. I can't say her name properly. I'm so excited. Absolutely exquisite, like genuinely. When you're pulling out commentator words like exquisite and stunning, you just like, because the ball came in from the right side and she somehow managed to kind of flick it up and over Demi Lambourne off her heel, and it was just like, yep, that is what a world record fee looks like. At least at the time, because she's no longer world record fee because of the NWSL throwing money around with their £70 billion owners, BFC. But yeah, it's, again, I know I'm repeating myself a bit, but it was Palace played so well. It needed a moment of quality like that to beat them, and that's what the WSL teams can do. That's Myra Ramirez at the World Cup. I'm amazed she didn't get snapped up in the summer because she was playing for Levante in the Spanish league, who, by the way, have made history of their own tonight. Freya's absolutely flabbergasted. They have drawn with Barcelona, which is the first time Barcelona have failed to win at their home ground in 4.5 years. So, that's the level of ridiculousness that Barca are at. And they did that without Myra Ramirez, who was scoring out of this world goals in Chelsea. So, but if you haven't seen that Myra Ramirez goal, just go and Google it because it is absolutely sublime. It's worthy of winning a final, never mind a fifth round. And it broke Palace hearts, but honestly, I think they'll come out of that going like Charlton did. Yeah, if we're beaten by a moment like that, then, what can you say? But Palace, again, can come out of that like Charlton and go, we've got a real foundation for our promotion push now.
Yeah,
and so hopefully they'll go up.
Yeah, and it is good to see him being able to dig in, because I think I'm not one of those who think there's only one way to play football. I think football is a tapestry, and there needs to be lots of different threads to make up the picture that we all enjoy. And there's a bit of something for everyone, and I like that, a dirty, dogged performance. But I mean, if you look at the stats of it, it does look like Roy Hodgson was managing that Crystal Palace, because it was very, very dirty and stuck in performance here. But I say they limited Chelsea to 3 shots on target, 13 in total, granted, but 3 on target, because which is really admirable. Even though they only had 24% possession, it's really solid, and it's good to see. But unfortunately, there's still that gap there. But you would have expected Chelsea to win, and as you said, I'm sure the Palace fans were absolutely bricking it, thinking, "Oh Christ, this is going to be one of the most embarrassing moments of my life."
Everyone went to Kings Meadow as well, which was great to see. The Palace. Anyone who's ever seen Palace play, Freya might have seen the Palace loyal come to Sunderland. They have a wall of flags that they set up at every game. It's a wonderful sight, and just over 400 of them going to Kings Meadow. It's great to see that level of away support outside of the WSL.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we've got in the chat, Lossie's telling us he loves women's football, and so does his wife to be. And I hope you're having a lovely Valentine's Day. And I hope you're both. You never know. This might be their Valentine's Day evening together, watching us here. Which I'm a total advocate of that, because we're just fabulous people to see. What a group of people to spend your evening with. Can't think of anything better to do. And after the low scoring, another, not a high scoring game, but still fairly sort of comprehensive. London City 0, Liverpool 2. And Freya, did you catch that game? How did that make you feel?
Oh yes, I can do that one.
Yes. Yes.
Let's have a look. Get me notes up.
And the London City that also lost this evening to Arsenal as well. They're out of all the cups, they're all gone now.
Yeah. London City, unfortunately, I remember watching them last season, and they were going for promotion last season. Which, if you look at the team now, it's like, what on earth has happened? A lot has happened. That's a different podcast. But you just think, how have they fallen essentially to where they are now? And they knew it was going to be a tough ask because Liverpool have been brilliant this season. They really have. They've been really strong. They've been able to take the most of their chances, and that's exactly what they did on this one. They completely dominated. I think they had 20 shots, 9 with them on target. And I think, to be honest, London City got off a bit lightly with just a 2-0. So I didn't think that was too bad, actually, with the way they were playing. Sophie Roman-Haug, brilliant signing for Liverpool. She had a header first to put them in the lead, and then Melissa Lawley had a lovely finish as well to double it. But they had loads of chances that they could have taken. London City, bless them, had one. They had one shot, and that was Maddie Wild, I believe. Just one shot. And it just went wide, and you just think, if that had gone in, would that have given them enough to kind of maybe come back, maybe get a draw, maybe take it to pens? But yeah, it wasn't to be for London City on the day or tonight, which also means Arsenal face Villa in the Conti Cup semi-final. Yay!
Noel Marriott derby.
Yeah, Noel Marriott is not in the lineup ever again. But Liverpool played very, very well. They should be very happy with themselves on that one.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at it, was, even though it was one of the lower scoring games, in regards to the performance, it was much more of the performance I would have expected in regards to WSL against Championship, that sort of difference. That gulf was what I expected to see. And obviously I need to carry my allegiance across the Liverpool women's team. Made me very happy. I was very pleased with that, especially because it's been a little bit ropey in a couple of the WSL games recently. But that was lovely to see, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it warms the cockles of my heart on a Valentine's Day evening. And next, where shall we go next? I'll tell you where we're going to go. It is going to stay with you, Freya. We're staying with Freya for Southampton 1, Manchester United 3. And what was the happy hap with the hip hop happity hap in that game?
Well, there wasn't much hip hop happy hap for United for most of it, to be honest. I don't know. There's a lot going on with United at the minute, and they haven't been playing their best. But they've managed to kind of come together and either get the win or get the draw. Like, they've still managed to perform to some extent to get the job done. And it's not really been that pretty. It's not really been that great overall, considering, where they were again last season. That change has been massive. But I genuinely thought at one point Southampton had a chance. And again, another Championship side coming forward, trying their very best. Started with Ella Toon. She had a lovely strike just outside the 12-yard box, and you thought, right, okay, if this is the United that's shown up, this is gonna be a good one. But then they struggled. They really struggled to create anything. Southampton kind of really came together and really stopped anything being created, which, fair play to them, the fact that they could do that. And then Lexi Lloyd-Smith, she was brilliant. She created a goal out of practically nothing. And it was, whether it was a cross or a shot, we don't quite know, but it curled in. And it
was a shot.
It's definitely a shot, yeah, absolutely. And it curled just under Mary Earp's elbow. And it just went in, and you could just see the euphoria on her face, and just, it meant so much. So yeah, when it was 1-1 and you thought, oh, okay, there could be a game on here. But Matt Skinner, obviously a lot of talk about him at the minute as well. And it seemed as though, to me anyway, personally, so Lexi Lloyd-Smith scored in the 65th minute. And in the 67th minute, he brought Rachel Williams on. And Rachel Williams seems to be United's like trump card. It's like, right, we're not scoring. Yeah, bring on Rachel Williams. And she's brilliant. She scores, she gets the job done. That's her role. But you'd think and hope for a team like United, that's not what they should rely on. They should be creating up and, until that point. And then if Rachel Williams does come on, it's like extra. But it seems to be at the minute that she's their get out of jail free card. And she's a brilliant impact sub. Can't take that away from her. She's brilliant. So Rachel Williams came on and got the extra 2 goals to take it to 3-1. But again, Southampton showed, they're in the top couple of spots in the championship for a reason. They're really pushing, and a couple of these championship teams have made life really hard for the WSL teams, which is really great to see, which proves that they do need that investment. But one thing that stood out was Fallon Tullis-Joyce. United brought her in as goalie, and you'd think in these cup games she'd get given a chance to play, because when she has, she's really good. So again, whether it's a point to prove about Maria staying rather than going, how valued she is at the club. But yeah, I think it would have been a really good opportunity to see Tullis-Joyce in goal, to be honest. So overall, they got the job done, although it was a bit hairy in places.
A bit hairy. And like you said, credit to Southampton for an equal performance in a large extent. I mean, at the moment, it's been a little while since I've been on the show with you guys. Max Skinner, what's going on with the managerial pressures that were being experienced at Manchester United? Is that still there, or have they been alleviated somewhat?
How long you got? There's a lot going on with Skinner. I think he's lost the fan base, essentially. He's lost a lot of respect. A lot of people would like to see some change. But yeah, he whinges a lot, doesn't he? I don't know if anyone else wants to comment on his press conference and stuff, but he doesn't do himself any favors. Let's put it that way. So who he chooses, his lineup, he doesn't rotate. There's lots of issues going on there, and I think they just need a breath of fresh air, in my personal opinion, to change things up a bit. They've got brilliant players. And even really good academy players. They took Evie Rabjon off Villa, and you just think they're not getting played, they're not getting time, and you just think, well, why take them from a club that was giving them first team minutes? So, yeah, it's a bit of an odd one.
I mean, Paul, you're a big Mark Skinner fan. Is he still struggling?
I was really hoping you'd ask Chloe first, because I'm like. If you can't say anything nice, in Freya talking about Rachel Williams, Mark Skinner owes Rachel Williams half his paycheck at this point. Like, genuinely, Rachel Williams might be the reason Mark Skinner is still in a job. And yeah, like he might be a perfectly decent bloke, but he just really doesn't do himself any favors. His public speaking, his communicating, he's like if you bought Jose Mourinho on Wish. It's just I think like Freya says, he's lost the fan base completely, or he's lost a large chunk of the fan base. And I think if there is an alternative, and there are several big managerial names who could come into Manchester United and really do a job. I think Mel Phillips is one of them. I was trying to be nice, Sean. Mel Phillips could be one of them. Suzanne Bakker, who's left Ajax as well, surprisingly, and I thought might be a Chelsea manager shout, because she's facing them, but apparently they've gone after Lyon's manager. It was revealed today. And I think that the clock is ticking very loudly for him. And I think he's aware of it at this point, and that might be contributing to the way his attitude in general. He's very defensive, he's very snippy, has the odd dig at fans. So yeah.
Not good then. Not good.
Not a great place for Man United to be in, really.
I mean, Simon in the chat, Mark Skinner is a whiny little, I think that means Schley bottle. I think he's referring to a whiny little Schley, or or shite. I'll go with shite. The whiny little shite. I mean, Chloe, do you concur? Is Mark scared of a whiny little shite?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, to be fair, the majority of it is his attitude. Like, if he's just, I mean, I've always said there's something off about him. Like, I don't know what. There's always been something dodgy about him, but his attitude's just awful. Like last year, I think they lost was it Conti Cup? It was one of them. They lost it and they get a medal for coming runners up. He was throwing the medal on the floor and like kicking it, and I'm just like, that's not an attitude to have. It's just that I don't know. I just think there's something off about him, and I think unless he wins back the fan base, then time's up.
I don't like that. Asshole. That's the description I would use for somebody who does stuff like that. But hey, that's just me. But while we are chatting with you, Chloe, Nottingham Forest 1, Everton 7. Alan has mentioned this game so many times. He thought Everton scored a lot. Or was he thinking of another fixture? No, it was this one. Nottingham Forest 1, Everton 7. Oh my days. Chloe, how did that game make you feel?
I know, about time, isn't it? Everton winning a game. What? No, I'm made up by it. 7 goals is pretty decent, Catherine Cole, she's on loan to us from Arsenal. She got her first goals. She scored 2. Tony Duggan, as we all know, self-certified president of the Tony Duggan fan club. I
was going to say you quite like Tony Duggan, don't you?
I love Tony Duggan, and she got a penalty. She scored her 7th goal, and it's just like, yes, go on, girl. So happy for her that she got it 88 minutes as well. So it was like, ooh. But also Forest did score 1. Charlotte Greengrass scored, and the assist was by Sophie Domingo. I know Sophie Domingo personally because she was at Derby for a season when I was like working for them during my undergrad. And she is, and to be fair, despite saying it, she is like a lovely girl, and I am quite glad that she got the assist because she is lovely. She is a really good baller. Like, she is so talented. Charlotte Greengrass is also a ridiculously talented player, and Forest do have some like stunning players like Domingo, like Greengrass. But again, they're just a team that don't have the facilities or funding. Like, they train twice a week. They're practically they're like what, 7th in the table in the WSL Northern League. But they could be so good. But no, yeah, very, very happy that Everton finally won, and hopefully we can bring that winning streak to Walton Hall next week against West Ham.
It was high score, and it wasn't. Where some of the other games, the lower team sort of held them for a little while, but this was just, this is just demolishing. They didn't have much of the possession. They didn't have many shots, and the goals are nicely quite spread throughout the game. It's not like you just battered them into submission at one stage. It was just lovely. I mean, did you think that performance can be carried on and into your next game?
Probably not, but I can dream.
They need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's West Ham, so you'd think that we could, but also I'm not confident. No, hopefully this will give them the momentum and the power that they've been missing, like that drive that's been missing for them, and hopefully it's been like, okay, we won then, but hopefully this time we can win now.
Yeah, and I mean, we've mentioned it in all of the games, and I know it's something that everybody wanted to talk about. So we've got a period, a little snippet of time we can put into it. But all the games are basically David Goliath, and unfortunately, David didn't overcome in all of these. Goliath did eventually. So it's just that when you have a big guy fighting the little kid, and you're holding them out at arm's length, and eventually you decide, right, I've had enough, and just boot them down the street, which is essentially, I don't advocate that, by the way, but that's essentially what happened in all these games, and a lot of the reoccurring theme is that the teams in the lower league seem to get tired. and then eventually they just run out of steam, and the class and the quality and the professionalism then overcomes it. I mean, Chloe, why is there's still that big divide between the WSL and the Championship and below?
Oh, I'm not. I think it's just basically money, essentially. Like the WSL has got funds, like the women. A lot of the women's teams also train at the grounds that the men train at. So, like, I know Everton women train at Finch Farm. Arsenal women train at the men's ground as well. Man City have this absolutely brilliant facility that both teams train at. Chelsea are the exact same. Derby women train at like the Pride Park facilities. Wherever, oh, I can't remember off the top of my head where Derby is, but they train there. But it's only for like twice a week. It's Tuesday and a Thursday for about 4 hours. So they just don't have the training facilities. They don't have the times to train. They only train twice, maybe even 3 times a week. They only play once on a Sunday. They often have to fund like their own travel for away games as well. So like they'll like car share and stuff like that if they don't get coaches provided. And it's just such the lack of funding and money for all the lower league teams, because some of the teams aren't even bad. Like Wolves women are probably one of the best in the Northern League, and they definitely held Brighton. They just don't have the funding or facilities to be able to like beat them or get further, which is a real shame because some of these teams are ridiculously good. And they get the crowds in as well. Like last season at the Forest ground for the West Midlands Derby, Forest women and Derby women, they got like 5,000 people in, which is like, I mean, it's not many when you think of how many can fit, how many are like sold out of the Emirates and that sort of thing. But for that league, that's absolutely huge. Like for getting the crowds, we just don't have the funding per se.
I mean, I've got a sneaky feeling that you might have an opinion on this, but Paul, what do you think can be done to sort of remedy that difference? Is there anything that the FA can do to support sort of distribution of funding, or do you think it just needs time to grow and develop?
I don't think it's on the FA, and I'm not necessarily sure it's on the teams, because sometimes you have situations like we were talking about Beth Merrick for Wolves earlier. Most of the Wolves team played for Coventry United at some point. So I know them like Beth Merrick, Amber Hughes, Destiny Toussaint, Helen Dermody. They all played for Coventry United. Beth Merrick was offered a full-time contract in the brief period where Coventry United did go fully professional, but didn't take it up because even with a full-time contract at the time, she'd have been paid more for her day job of working as a teacher. And this is where the problem is. For the vast majority of teams, they don't need to invest because they almost look at it and go, well, we're always going to be outpaid by the top three teams, and most media coverage and everything only cares about the top three teams. I mean, like for the TV games that have come out in the WSL, the Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park isn't on telly, because we're seeing for the 15th time this season Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester City. To be fair, Manchester City are in the Manchester Derby, so you can justify that one. But I look at it, and the coverage is so skewed, and this is a media thing. Like genuinely, as far as the media seems to be concerned, there's only three teams, so that's where all the money is going. And that's where they have all the incentive to invest. I mean, you're just in a situation now where almost you need a squad wage cap in the WSL. And you say, right, you can spend, let's say, £4 million a year on a squad of 20 players, but you have to have a minimum wage. Every player has to be paid at least the average living wage in the UK, which is £25,000 a year. And then let's face it, most teams in the top three tiers that are linked to men's clubs can probably afford to pay their women £25,000 a year. You're not telling me, for example, Nottingham Forest can't afford to pay their women's squad an average of £25,000 a year. when most Premier League teams are paying even their fringe youth players that a week. And I think at this point you're right. Maybe there is something the FA can do, or new code when they take over the Championship. But it would be a radical case of saying, right, okay, we are going to cap spending on squads as a whole in order to make it more attractive for teams to invest in, more competitive. So, almost force parity. But at the same time, we're going to impose a wage floor so that if players want to play full time, clubs have to commit to it. And I think that then you'd see talent that's currently perhaps getting lost or almost not playing well being told, right, okay, if we commit, if we're paying these players this amount of money, we should commit to also having them training 4 or 5 times a week. We should also commit to giving them the same facilities as the men. We should also commit to giving them the same promotion as the men. And I think the way you force and the way you close the gap is by perhaps capping the top level for a little while, so the big teams can't run away. The games are more competitive, and there's more. The lower teams are almost getting more for their money, while the players are still getting a decent amount of money.
Yeah, so I mean it is a financial parity thing that needs to be remedied, and I think the WSL and the Championship probably still at that level where they're not developed far enough down the line. You try to introduce that into the Premier League now, for example, in the men's game, and you wouldn't be able to do that because there's so many long-term contracts on so much money. It would just decimate the league. It just wouldn't be possible. But I think, I mean, do you feel? I mean, Freya, do you think that the WSL and the Championship are at a point where they could introduce some sort of limits and cappings, a bit like that they do in the American leagues, where you've got an upper echelon, you've got a lower echelon that can sort of level that out, but also introduce at the same time. Whereas like Luton this year, and they got promoted to the Premier League, had to improve their ground, for example. So you could set a criteria to say you need to have a minimum of training facilities, something else, and this barrier. I mean, Freya, do you think that would work?
It would, but again, that comes down to if they are linked to the men's team, because some women's clubs still aren't, so they're pretty much on their own. But then if they've got the backing of the men's team, if those restrictions were put into place, okay, well, how are they going to fund that? So I think I agree with everything that's been mentioned, but there needs to be so much standardization across the board in the women's game in general that I think it just needs. That's why I'm excited for this new code to come in actually and see what they're going to do and how they're going to revolutionize the leagues. Because when you look at even the top and bottom of the WSL, the top have had a chance to run away with it. And it's literally right, top 3 or 4 versus the middle lot, and then a couple at the bottom. So it's really hard to be able to compete when you physically can't. So I think if there was that cap, then at least you've got a chance. Whereas at the minute, I think most teams would go up against Chelsea and go, we're going to try, but it's probably not going to work out very well. So I think, and even in the Championship, you turn up at some of the grounds, and even Aston Villa, the Bescott Stadium isn't the best if you've ever been. But you just think, well, if that's the value of the top flight of the WSL, then how are the lower leagues being treated as well? So I think it is that investment, but it's where that's going to come from. And unfortunately, the people who hold all the answers, if they're willing to do it, if they think it's worth it. And that's the big fight.
And I mean, in the chat, we've got Ali is saying to give the league a boost, surely the coverage should be across the board. For an example, in the Women's League in Wales, games get shown, but it's only 1 per weekend. And the Women's League is being televised by S4C or S4C. But he doesn't think the teams will get as much income as compared to the English counterparts. And It's not unfortunate. We've just not got as much dollar over here as you do over there, over the bridge in England. And Lossie's correct. The women don't get paid as much as the men players, which I think's okay. I'm okay with that because the men get paid an immoral amount of money, and that needs to change. But that is certainly a discussion for another time. Otherwise, I'll lose my head entirely. Going over that. I mean, Chloe, do you have any sort of a remedy that you think that can or should be imposed at this stage where it's still imposable, or when the new ownership comes in next season?
I think it's more just the same that everyone else has said. It's just the funding. Like, there just isn't enough funding for like the lower league clubs, and hopefully the new system will hopefully like help. But also, I'm not holding my breath because we obviously don't know what it's like yet. We don't know if it'll work, if it won't. It's just a case of wait and see if anything can be done.
Yeah, because I mean that's my only from obviously my knowledge of the WSL women's football is based purely on doing these shows with you guys. But what you're seeing is it's at a period of growth where one or two things could happen. The top teams could run away, and you could end up being a little bit like the Ligue 1 over in France, where Paris Saint-Germain have got all this money and will never ever lose unless Pochettino manages them. But they will win always and forever. I just want you to know I'm going to be where you are, no matter how near or far. PSG will always win the league. But you could end up with that Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal at the top, and everyone could fall behind. And I think that's my only nervousness as somebody newly introduced to it is it feels a bit like a pivotal time. Am I right in that it can go one of two ways at this point in time as the interest is growing, and it can either be allowed this media interest in the top one to go and for it to die away, or someone can come in and take control.
I think the problem they've got as well is as soon as you suggest wage caps in the women's game, people instantly scream, well, the men get paid this amount, so suggesting women shouldn't get paid as much is sexist. Like limiting up, and there's very little nuance in the debate, and because the way I see a wage cap going is you say, right, okay, you can pay up to £4 million for a squad of 20 players and a minimum of £25,000 a year. And within that, you can pay players as much as you like, but that's your hard top. So if Chelsea want to pay Sam Kerr £1 million a year, then they can. But it means they have to sacrifice that elsewhere. But that then gives an opportunity for the likes of Everton, for the likes of Aston Villa, for the likes of, these mid-table teams to say, right, okay, we'll go, Chelsea have overspent their budget. They can't afford to keep 20 internationals. So this player is suddenly on the market. So we'll go for it. And then you're almost forcing parity that way. And then Villa and Everton are starting to climb the table. Chelsea, the top three aren't winning as much. So people are going, oh, hold on a minute. Maybe we should show these other teams a lot more and not just focus on the teams who everyone knows who have all the star players. And then you go from there. And I also think that the 75%, 25% split in revenue allocation between the Super League and the Championship, again, is not right. It should be more like 2/3 and a third. And it should be almost equal allocation of revenue, but maybe almost more means tested. So teams like Bristol City get more help from the league, get more of the revenue from the league initially, at least. You can tell I've thought about this. I could ramble for another half hour about this. There's a whole off-season podcast about how I see this working.
We shall tee that one up, don't you? Well, we've got a whole summer to fill. So don't blow your load too early. We call it the come, but it'll be an interesting time. There's certainly it's on the cusp. I quite like, because I think the Spanish league do something similar. Like, you're allowed to have this amount for salaries for players, and they'll tell you put your stuff into a little app on your phone, and it comes back and goes. That'd be really good to see. But I mean, just 2 points quickly before we depart this faithful eve. What did I have? So the quarter-final draw, we have Tottenham, Man City, Liverpool, Leicester, Brighton, Manchester United, Everton, Chelsea. Chloe, are Everton going to carry on this great cup form and knock out Chelsea? That's right.
No, to be fair, I don't know. To be fair, Chelsea, I feel, they've been good. They're also missing, like Sam Kerr and Millie Bright, so they've kind of had that little bit of, not a step back almost, but kind of like they've not had as much drive. Like you can really see that they're missing them players, like particularly in the FA Cup game. Like I know Emma Hayes made 10 changes, but with a team like Chelsea, you just know that every single one of them is like good. So I'm hopeful, but also fully expecting the worst, to get absolutely annihilated.
They are inevitable, and unfortunately, Chelsea are inevitable. And Sean say just have a system which the world's computer says no. You never know. You gotta have a dream. If you never have a dream, you can never have a dream come true. So dreams can come true. I can't remember the rest of the words. If you know that, feel free to sing along in the chat as Gabrielle. Which one should we give you? We'll give you. I mean, Freya, Tottenham, Man City. That's Man City all day, isn't it?
It's got to be, unless the Tottenham of the first part of the season show up, and then they might have a really good game. But yeah, I think Tottenham just haven't been clinical enough, and I think City will punish them for that. So yeah, it's looking like City, but I really hope Spurs show up and give them, make them work for it. That'll be good.
I mean, Paul, Brighton, Manchester United. That's Manchester United, isn't it?
I think there is only so far Rachel Williams can take Manchester United, basically, and I think it's that the situation in the dugout. I think if Brighton still had Mel Phillips, I'd be like, yeah, Brighton are going through. But if Nikita Paris keeps on her form, it's a crime Nikita Paris isn't in the England squad, by the way. If she keeps up her goal scoring form, then United will go through. But again, there's always that factor in the dugout that I keep looking, and I'm just fish rots from the head, and players can only do so much. If they're used wrongly, if they're playing at a club where you've got that atmosphere, I think Brighton, particularly because Brighton have basically got an us against the world mentality now. I think Brighton will be up for that, and so if Man United struggle to get past Southampton, then if I had to pick a shock, I'd tip that one.
So if you're a gambling individual, Paul is telling you Brighton. That's if you're going for your long shot. That is where you're going to place your money. If it doesn't work, he lives in Coventry. You can find him, knock his door, and hold him personally responsible. But it is a quarterfinal. There are 4 games. You may have noticed I left Liverpool Leicester till last, and so I'll say that I want Liverpool to win. No discussion. That's what I want to have happen. Whether it will or not, I'm not sure. I imagine it'll be an interesting game. I think of all of them, that's probably the one I would like to think would be probably one of the more competitive games. Am I judging this right? I think it'll be a more competitive game, but Liverpool will win it. They'll do it for me, because then I might come on the show then next show when they do it. But that takes to the last bit of news that we'll just briefly cover this evening. Chelsea have allegedly made an approach for I read in reports, their first choice manager. I'm pretty sure this isn't their first choice. The lady with 1 syllable short in her surname to make it one of the most fun surnames to say. Let me know if I'm saying this correctly. Sonia Pompasta. I was hoping it was going to be Pompastador, but she hasn't got enough syllables, so it's not. She's Mrs. Bompastor. Freya, she's not their first choice, really, but still a solid choice. Champions League winner as a player, as a manager. Would if you were a Chelsea fan, are you feeling it?
Yeah, I think out of everyone, because I know that it went around that the Chelsea players apparently said they want another female coach to come in. Some people have said that that's not true. I don't know. But it'd be nice. So for Emma Hayes to kind of leave Chelsea in good hands, she's always said she wanted to be a part of that transition. And I was doing a bit of reading on it, and it said that she's worked there in America, I think, for about 10 years ago. So Emma Hayes has known her for quite a long time. And like you said, she's won the Champions League. She's won loads of trophies. She's worked with the youth academies. So as someone who is able to work with different age groups to kind of push youth players through, is what, Chelsea actually could do a bit more of, I think, because they've got a tendency, especially with academy players, to kind of loan them out and then bring them back in. So it'd be good to see that kind of rotation come through, that new kind of edge. So from what I've seen, it looks very good. I've also seen some comments saying, no, she's not the type of person we want, blah, blah, blah. But you're always going to get that. But on the surface, for how decorated she is, I think, yeah, it's a good show. It's a good successor.
How close is my pronunciation, by the way?
Not bad.
Pretty close.
I'll take that. It's not my forte pronouncing names correctly. I mean, Paul, are you feeling it? If you were a Chelsea fan, would you be feeling it?
Given the alternative is supposed to be Frank Lampard, like, genuinely, Frank. I think it was actually Izzy Christensen who may have said that she'd heard that Frank Lampard had been linked with the job, which would have set Chelsea and possibly women's football back about 5 years. But I think, like you say, she's not Chelsea's first choice, because both Chelsea's first choice ruled them, or all three of Chelsea's choices above them ruled themselves out. Jonathan Giraldez, when he was leaving Barcelona, because he's going to the NWSL. And then Casey Stoney and Laura Harvey both said, no thanks, we're happy in America. So she's probably going to be the person they're going to turn to next, obviously, with the amount of success she's had at Lyon. But it will be an interesting one, because obviously I didn't actually know. I've learned something with Freya saying that Emma Hayes obviously knows her well. So that will probably swing it. But I still think whoever takes that Chelsea job after Emma Hayes is taking a poison chalice. And I think the vast majority of managers, probably the reason Casey Stoney and Laura Harvey ruled themselves out of it is a bit of career savviness. They're like, yeah, that's the impossible job. We're not taking that job.
I don't want to dream the impossible dream. I'd sort of say Steven Gerrard, but he might slip up. I mean, what I quite like, look, just on my brief reading on Sonia, is that she's not. This isn't a first job, if you like. It might be the first senior job, but she's been in the academy for a sustained period of time and has actually done more than one season and winning things. And I think the mentality matters a lot, and that's why I think when people say, have they won anything, put your trophies on the table, sort of thing, I think that matters more at a team like Chelsea, where they're used to that success. So you're going in, she can deal with the egos, she'll be able to deal with the expectation, because who she's managed and what she's achieved so far. I mean, Chloe, would you be happy? Would you be a happy Chelsea fan with this appointment if you were a Chelsea fan? Which, of course, you wouldn't be happy to be a Chelsea fan, because why would you be happy to be a Chelsea fan? You're an Everton fan. But would you be?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if we look at her success at Lyon, I think that says it all, really. Like, I'd be quite happy, and I think she'll settle really well into the role, because, like everyone's already said, Emma Hayes has made it perfectly clear that she wants someone she knows, another female, and someone she can trust to take over Chelsea, because we all know how much Emma Hayes is. Chelsea is essentially like Emma Hayes' second child. Like she has her own child, and then she also has Chelsea as another one, and so she wants someone to come in and look after her child that she knows she can trust. And I think this is going to be a good signing, and I think that Chelsea could do it again next year with her because yeah, I'm quite happy with it as a not Chelsea fan.
Yeah, I'll take that. So everybody would be happy. Isn't that nice? They'd all have a utopia. Everybody would come together in solidarity and happiness, and that is just beautiful. That is, and what has been beautiful, it's been beautiful spending this Valentine's Eve with you all. Thank you all for joining us. Everybody in the chat, Lossie, Cap, Alid, Sean, Mr. Luke, Chris, Charlotte, Simon, Sam, all you people. If I'm forgetting anybody, I do apologize. For all of you, our audio listeners, thank you very, very much for being here. And if you want to follow us, if you want more, Freya, where can people find you?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me personally for various bits that I write and things like that, I'm at Freya T Writes. Or if you want more football stuff, particularly Villa and Sunderland, then you can follow me and Lindsay at the Hall 115 Yards.
Oh, and please do show that love and do some following. And if people want to follow you from a social media perspective, not in real life, because that'd be a bit scary. Chloe, where can people find you?
I am Chloe Bear 529 on Twitter, or X as they now call it, and Instagram.
And Paul, where can people find you aside from in the bed spreading scent on your partner's Disney toys?
You're making me sound weird with that one. I'm never going to make that one.
It's nothing that Paul said, by the way. That's just me. That's just the way my mind works. I will get ostracized by my wife for that later on.
I am usually to be found yelling about women's football, although I try and yell a little less because some people have sometimes claimed that I yell a bit. I'm a bit biased, so I've tried to kind of tone it down a lot about certain teams. But you can see there at Paul W Radio is where you can find me.
Oh, that is where he may be, and as it stands, I'm currently at absolutely Josh _. But the important thing, the big thing that actually matters, is of course. Please follow us on the podcast. On Twitter, I will never call it X because that is a silly name. But on Twitter, please follow us at Absolute Ball Pod. YouTube, we are at Absolute Football Podcast, as we are also on Twitch and on the YouTube. Please do feel free, even if you've listened on audio, hop over to the YouTube at Absolute Football Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's not going to hurt anybody, but every time you click it, an angel gets its wings. And every time you hit a thumb up on a video, it makes me smile and feel warm deep inside my bosom. And if you want to check us out over the TikTok, boom, that is at Absolute Football Pod, and Instagram and Threads, if anyone uses that, Absolute Football Podcast _, and on Facebook, the Absolute Football Podcast. But please follow us on all the socials. Be like John Cena. John Cena follows the podcast. He loves a little bit of Absolute Football Podcast. So if it's big enough for that big JC, not Jesus Christ, John Cena, it should be good enough for you. But please follow us there. And if you enjoy Premier League football, Mondays 8:30 live on YouTube and Twitch, we cover the Premier League and European leagues. And on Thursdays, the award-winning Rowdy Rabble, led by our very own Charlotte, the absolutely lower league. That is Thursday 8:30 on YouTube or Twitch. Anywhere that you've caught us today, that is where it's going to be. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Have a lovely Valentine's evening. Go home and spend time with your loved ones. If you're on your own, remember, Jesus loves you, as do I. Have a pleasant evening. TTFN, a ta-ta.